All right, so today we're going to do a couple new drawings on Tinkercad. So we're going to log in, go to our home screen, go up to the Learn tab, click on the lessons, and we're going to go with See All Lessons. Now we did the first three, kind of the most basic ones last week. The learning the moves, camera controls, and creating holes. So this week what we're going to do is we're going to, at least today, we're going to have a couple lessons this week. So we're going to do the scale, copy and paste, the key ring with letters. We're going to put the numbers on that set of dice that's drawn on the board. And we're also going to, let me find it here. We're also going to do these glasses, an actual 3D shape. So, to get started, all we're going to do is go in. We're going to click on the first lesson for today. You can see I actually completed that last week. What I'll do though real quick is reset it so that we can actually kind of draw this together. So, first thing we're going to do, click and drag my cylinder over there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drag another one out. Now what we're going to do, while we already have this selected, we're going to drag this shape down to make it 15 millimeters tall. And you can see the size right there. That's how tall it is. I'm going to grab that top little handle. Drag that down to 15. We're going to go to the next one. Now, all we're going to do is copy and paste. So it doesn't matter which cylinder you do it with because we're going to adjust the height anyway. So I'm just going to Control V or Control C, and I'm going to hit Control V. And now I have another cylinder here. I can zoom in to get a good idea of what's going on here. It's set up on that cylinder area that they have labeled for us. And all we're going to do is drag this down to 10 tall. So that one's done. Let's go to the next one. So the key ring and letters, that's the next one for today. And again, I already did this last week, so let's just reset this really fast so we can see what's going on. All right, so, sorry there, had to jump away for a second. Heard my Amish buddy coming. So, we're going to do the key ring and the letters next for the second drawing of this lesson. So what we're going to do is start by drawing these letters onto the red base. It's spelled out Katie right there, so we're going to zoom in a little bit so we can get a better look at this. And I like to right click and rotate this up a little bit so I can give a better look at where I'm putting the thing. So I'm just going to click and drag the letters down onto where they are. Now what's really nice here, I got a little bit off with that letter K. It's a little bit high, so I can just push the down arrow on my keyboard. Let's see how I did there. Good. I actually might just want to bump it back up. There we go. So we're going to go to bring the A down. All right, so we're going to nudge the T up just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go next. And actually, one thing that it does say to do because if you watch me bumping those, they're moving quite a bit. So I'm going to lower how far it bumps them, my snap grid, to 0.25. Now it bumps it over a very, very small amount. Okay, so what we're going to do now, you can see over here, it says to resize the base using the black dots. Now, I selected the base, I take that black dot, and I'm going to just move it over to where that orange line is. So the first thing it did was it shrunk like the typing area where we drug those letters. Now it shrunk that whole background. So now what it wants us to do, it wants us to, get rid of everything on here except for the key ring. So we're going to click and drag and select all those letters and hit delete and get rid of them. And what we're going to do is we're going to select all the remaining shapes. You can either click and drag, or you can hit Control A. It'll select everything. We're going to come up here, we're going to hit Group, and that one's done. So the next one here that we're going to do is the die on a work plane. So it's a dice. We're going to use the different work planes. So each face of this dice is a working plane. So I'm just going to reset the progress here because I already did this one. Now, what it does is it has all the numbers except for 5 and 6 on this dice. And we're actually going to reset this again because it didn't actually load up the set of dice for me. Okay, so there's the dice. Had a little trouble there for a second. So you can see right-clicking and rotating. Look underneath, there's one. The numbers are on all but 2 sides. So up here, we have the work pane. And if you look, there's this orange box here. And what we're doing is right now the work pane is under the dice. That's that grid box. And again, I'm going to bump this down to 0.25 for that snap grid. That way it's a little bit finer movement. So we're going to click and drag a work pane onto here. And what's nice is I can so now it's switched where my working area was to the front of this, rather than having to rotate the whole thing, the whole drawing around. So we're going to come over to the shapes. We're going to drop down the text. Now with this, we're not so much typing as we're going to select these numbers, actually, individual numbers. So I need a number 5, and I'm going to drag that out and drop it right there. So let's go over to the instructions. The next step, we need the height, how far it sticks out of the number 5, to be 1 millimeter. So we're going to rotate this a little bit so you can see this better. And we're going to come in to 1. Okay. So the 5 is done. Now what we're going to do, we're actually going to drag another work pane over and put it on top of the dice. So what we can do, we're going to keep with the numbers. We're going to drag a number 6 and put it right on top. And again, we're going to take this and shrink it down to 1 as far as our thickness, or the height as the program calls it. Now, to reset where the work plane is, We're going to drag a new work plane out. We're just going to drop it on any area other than the object. And that resets it to the bottom where it was originally. So we're going to select all the objects. In this case, since it's the only drawing, I'm just going to hit Control A. And what I'm going to do is I am going to group them to make them a single shape. So what's nice now, if we were going to 3D print this or something like that, we have an object that can actually be printed. All right, so we're done. The fourth drawing I'm going to have you do, we're going back to the project page. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll. Actually, it's right up at the top. There's my buddy's cell phone going off. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to select this. So we can start it. All right, so let's get started here. We're going to start by dragging the box shape onto the area. And I'm going to go ahead and set this down to 20.25 millimeters so that it's kind of fine-tuning it. All right, so we're going to set it to the height of 5 millimeters tall. And we can actually come in here and just hit 5. And then what we need is we need it to be 6 deep and 6 long. All right, and actually for this drawing, like the directions say, we're just going to go to 0.5 millimeter for our snap grid. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to drag. Oh, I accidentally adjusted my shape here. So we're going to drag this over. We're going to drop it right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to Control C, Control V. We're going to copy and paste. And I'm actually just going to move this out of the way for a second so it's a little bit easier for me to see where I'm going with this. And I'm just going to use my arrow keys to nudge these over into position. Some of them actually got bumped out. All right. Now what it wants us to do, it says scale it, which means it just wants us to make it larger, so we're going to make it 24. We can just fill that in, or you can drag and drop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste this long one into these outlined areas. All right. The next part we're going to do is we're actually going to fill in the rest of these blocks here. And what we can do is we can use the ones we already drew, and we can actually position them right on these boxes. And there's one right here that we're going to have to change the size. I'm going to get this done, and then I'll show you what the next step is. All right, so I did a bunch of copying and pasting. These three blocks had to be resized, but you can see that it actually has the lenses of the glasses drawn in now. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all objects, do the old Control A. What we're going to do now, we're going to group those objects at the top. All right. There we go. And those are our 4 lessons that I'm kind of giving you for the day. Pay attention to Google Classroom. There's going to be some other stuff before the end of the week. Can't wait to see all of you. Hope we'll be in class next week. Have a good day.